I will be visiting Doha, Qatar, to participate in the United Nations Congress on Crime Prevention and Criminal Justice. I'll return to New York Monday morning. Before I depart, I wanted to say a few words about the rapidly deteriorating situations in Yemen and Syria, where countless civilians are being willfully abandoned to misery. Even before the latest crisis, Yemen's overall humanitarian needs were on a scale similar to all 9 countries of the Sahel region combined. And Yemen had almost double the number of people classified as severely food insecure. The crisis has only multiplied in recent days. Ordinary Yemeni families are struggling for the very basics: water, food, fuel, and medicines. Hundreds of civilians have been killed. Hospitals and schools are shutting down, some of which and are direct targets of the fighting. As I have repeatedly said, attempts by the Houthis and their allies to take territory by force and undermine the authority of the legitimate government are in clear violation of Security Council resolutions and their commitments in the UN-facilitated political process. Since the initial advances by the Houthis, the situation has greatly escalated through the Arab coalition military operation led by the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia at the request of President Hadi. The coalition air raids and the continuing attempts by the Houthis and their allied armed groups to expand their power have turned an internal political crisis into a violent conflict that risks deep and long-lasting regional repercussions. The last thing the region and our world need is more of the chaos and crimes we have seen in Libya and Syria. The UN brokered negotiations endorsed by the Security Council remain the best chance to help get the transition back on track and preserve the country's unity and territorial integrity. For over 2 months, my Special Envoy Jamal Benouar has facilitated all-inclusive negotiations. Although disagreements remain on some critical issues, many others have been resolved. There needs to be a return to political negotiations. All parties to those negotiations must participate in good faith. There is no other solution. As the fighting rages on, all parties to the conflict in Yemen must adhere to their obligations under international humanitarian law. I call on all of them to protect civilians and enable humanitarian workers to safely deliver life-saving assistance wherever it is needed. I expect member states to do everything possible to make this happen and get the parties back to the peace table without conditions and without delay. Ladies and gentlemen of the media, the Syrian war long ago exceeded words to describe the mayhem. Now the fighting has plumbed to depth. The horror that is Syria, the Yarmouk refugee camp, is the deepest circle of hell. After more than 2 years of merciless siege, 18,000 Palestinian refugees and Syrians are now being held hostage by Daesh and other extremist militants. A refugee camp is beginning to resemble a death camp. The residents of Yarmouk, including 3,500 children, are being turned into a human shield. They face a double-edged sword, armed elements inside the camp, and government forces outside. We are now hearing worrying reports of a massive assault on the camp and all civilians in it. This would be yet one more outrageous war crime for which those responsible must be held accountable. Most immediately, we need to stabilize the situation in the camp. I joined the Security Council in demanding an end to hostilities, access to provide humanitarian assistance, and safe passage for civilians who wish to escape safely. I call on all member states with influence on the government and all parties on the ground to take all steps necessary to send a clear message. Civilians must be spared. Civilians must be protected at all times. I will continue to press this unequivocal message in my meetings and phone calls with world leaders. The epic humanitarian catastrophe in Yarmouk represents an epic test of the international community's resolve. Surely, we can all agree that what is unfolding in Yarmouk is unacceptable. Surely, we can all act to end the suffering. Surely, we can all refuse to tolerate the intolerable. It is time for concerted action to save lives and restore a measure of humanity. We simply cannot stand by and watch a massacre unfold. The people of Yarmouk must not be abandoned. Thank you.
Hold on, Nick. No, hold on. Let's go.
Secretary General, on Yemen, what you said today, frankly, doesn't sound much different from what you've been saying for the past 4 years. There'll be many people internationally who will listen to those words and regard them perhaps as platitudes. Could you be more specific about what member states have to do? Could you be more specific about ways of resolving that situation peacefully? Because your words, the danger is your words are going to fall on deaf ears.
I know that I have been repeating all what I said during the last 4 years. I may have to continue to repeat with more emphasis that this cannot continue like this way. The international community must have full moral political responsibility. And why it has happened so? There has been clear divisions among the member states. Member states in the region and within the United Nations, particularly the Security Council. And the people of Syria, they are themselves divided. That is the reason why it has been very difficult, even to deliver humanitarian assistance. Now, what I'm asking and appealing to the international community is, even though it may be just a small area of Yarmouk refugee camp, we have 18,000 people. Of course, more than 220,000 people have been killed. 10 million people have been affected, directly and indirectly. And therefore, there is no time to lose. I have asked Stefan de Mistura now to focus much more to relaunch a political process. I need the full support. There is no military solution. Only political solution, dialogue, can be an answer to this. And I need the support from all international community, particularly member states of the United Nations.
Thank you. Sylvia.
Thank you, Secretary General. You just said that the only solution is dialogue and de-escalation and for the political process. Can you tell me if it's possible to, are you willing, the United Nations or the Security Council is willing to have a direct or indirect talks with Daesh in order to stop the killing in Syria, in Iraq, in Yemen, and in the Middle East? Thank you.
Daesh or ISIL, they have committed unspeakable crimes against humanity, including beheadings. And the level of brutality is just unspeakable. I cannot just describe it enough. My anger. They must stop. Whatever grievances they may have, all this should be resolved through dialogue, not through killing people in such a horrific, brutal way. I strongly condemn again. They must give up their arms and discuss all this through peaceful means. This is not what human beings to do. It's unacceptable.
Rakida?
Yeah, Mr. Secretary General, on Yarmouk first, who is talking to Daesh so that you would have the safe passage that you've been calling for? The UN has been trying to do this. And who do you have in mind when you say there is a massive assault being prepared that you're calling already a crime, a war crime? And on Yemen, there is a naval movement by Iran. There's Iranian warships in the Bay of Aden. Are you worried that this is going to ignite a larger conflict? What do you want to say to Iran at this point and the other players around Yemen? Thank you.
First of all, as you may remember, last month when there was a White House summit on countering violent extremism, I expressed my position that all this extremism and terrorism should be addressed at the roots. Why these extremism and terrorism have happened are now happening like this way. One easy answer would be that failed leadership, just the continuing crisis in Syria for 5 years, and other areas have provided perfect breeding ground for all this extremism take root in our society. But we have to address all these issues. In that regard, sometimes it may be necessary to take a firm physical action through a coalition of forces. That is what we are now seeing. But this can be effective and efficient and helpful, but that's not the answers. What is more important is how we address all these issues through inclusive and harmonious way, addressing all the concerns and grievances of the people on the ground. Then I think, unfortunately, the international community has let these kind of things fester until such very violent means are now taking place. Now on Yemen.
But on Syria, can you please address the question, Mr. Secretary General? On Syria, can you tell me if you are contacting ISIS one way or another for that passage, for the same passage, and who is preparing that assault?
I have been talking to the leaders in the region to influence their possible, in their whatever possible way, their exercising their influence. I have already been speaking yesterday, day before yesterday, and even today. I'm trying to find out the leaders, people who can exercise their influence over these people. And I'm not talking directly with them. It's not possible. Then on Yemen, again, we had very serious discussions during League of Arab States on a meeting in Sharm el-Sheikh. What I'm concerned as a Secretary General is that my special advisor, Jamal Beroma, has been tirelessly working to facilitate this political dialogue through a national dialogue and national unity government. We were able to, he was able to address many issues. But this military takeover by Houthis has led the situation like this way. But at this time, I still believe that this political negotiation is the answer.